Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode where I'm continuing my conversation about boundaries. This week's episode is going to be about how to draw boundaries with a narcissistic mother. So I'm going to give you some 4 protective tips that you can use and put into play in your life so that you can actually be happy. Because having a narcissistic mother can make life super miserable. So let's establish what it is to have a narcissistic mother. I've done other episodes on this, so certainly you can find them on my YouTube channel. I did one called How Daughters of Narcissistic Mothers Can Survive and Thrive, which has been very popular. And in that, I really break down how to know if you have a narcissistic mother. So if you're wondering, go watch that one, then watch this one. But I will give the basics in this one. And if you have a narcissistic mother, I'm going to guarantee you probably already know it. So there are different kinds of narcissism. So some people have it, the actual personality disorder, which is pretty hardcore. And even then, there's different kinds of narcissist within the personality disorder. So you have the smothering kind, right? The engulfing narcissist, who is all up in your stuff. Everything you do is a reflection on them. And then you have the more neglecting narcissist. But they have things in common as well. Because the reality is that a narcissistic mother has no ability to show you empathy, has no ability to show you compassion. And how counterintuitive is that if you're not a narcissistic mother? You're like, oh, that's like the number one thing a mother should do. And it's like a dirty secret if you have a narcissistic mother, because society, we so revere mothers and motherhood. So I've heard a lot from many of you and from people in my practice that it's something they don't talk about. Because when you do talk about it, people who don't have a narcissistic mother will say the dumbest things and totally judge you and be like, you only have one, it's your only mother, or whatever it is, having no idea of what it would actually be like to have a narcissistic mother. So what are some other traits? A narcissistic mother can be in competition with you. There's always the division of siblings because you have the golden child, right? One kid who is chosen to basically be the narcissistic reflection of the mother. And then you have the scapegoat, sadly for them, that is chosen to basically take the brunt of all the problems in the family. So it's almost like the family agrees, everyone agrees that now that the mother has designated that person, the scapegoat, that all the family's problems are because of that person. It's always about divide and conquer with a narcissist and demanding total loyalty. And another thing is that a narcissist will just bold-faced lie. Just lie about your childhood, lie about what happened. They will tell you how you feel. So if you try to tell them you feel differently, they will just deny your reality. And also, they're incredibly thin-skinned. Super ego driven because, of course, inside of someone who is really a narcissist is tons of self-loathing and this fragile sense of self that they must respond to every perceived slight and over-respond and overreact. And really, having a narcissistic mother just means that everything is about them. So your wedding will become about them. Your relationship becomes about them. Sometimes they will befriend your friends and actually have a relationship with your friends. All, again, if you're not a narcissistic mom, all that stuff seems super counterintuitive. Like, don't you have your own friends? Your accomplishments, of course, become theirs. Every talent you have is something they got from you. They are jealous of their children. Again, super counterintuitive, right? Because normal parents, healthy parents, you pray that your kids are successful and more successful than you. Please do everything better. That means we did a good job if you're normal. Anyway, if any of this is ringing true to you, then this episode is for you. So let's get into how you can put yourself in the best position to protect yourself from a narcissistic mother. It's difficult because the little kid in you, just like the little kid in all of us, hopes that it can be different, wants it to be different, wants to be wrong about their parent being a narcissist. When you're younger, you just take it in and bring it on yourself. Like, well, if I were better, if I were different, she wouldn't be the way that she is. But you're not a child anymore. And so being grown up, it has to be your adult self starts to take over, because the child in you really doesn't want to give up. But if your mother is a true narcissist, her ability to ever love you, actually love you, is very limited. Because narcissists they love you for how they see themselves in you, right? If you're the golden child, they get their narcissistic supply from you. So they want you to listen to their stories that are long. They want you to feed their ego, tell them they're right in all the fights they're having with other people out there in the world, if they're that kind of a narcissist. They know how to manipulate you. They're master manipulators. And the moment you start changing the dance with them, they will notice. And they will basically do anything. It's all like your normal mom guilt, right? Moms can have a tendency to, well, I thought you were going to call and you don't call enough or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like terrorist grade guilt. Like it's a war type guilt, manipulation, and more than that. They will humiliate you. They will embarrass you. I had a client once, and her mother called her office and told all these lies about her. Called her office, would actually show up at her work if her daughter didn't do what she wanted her to do. And I mean, there's also many cases of, it's of a narcissistic parent being physically abusive too. They'll get so enraged. So listen, you guys know the situation that you're in, or maybe a friend of yours is in, someone that you know, about what is the degree and how do they act it out. So whether they're engulfing or whether they are the neglectful kind, they still need something from you and want something from you. And ultimately, it really is still all about them. And I really feel you if this is your situation, because all the information that we get in society tells us that we should honor our parents, and tells us that, being a mother is this highest, this most divine, this most important role. And that they'll say, oh, well, look at that person. What is their relationship like with their parents? And it says something bad about the person if they don't have a relationship with their parents. None of that applies if you have a narcissistic parent. But this is not spoken about. Another thing that narcissistic parents are great at is putting up a facade, because they're very interested in what people think, and they're very interested in the way things look. They're super judgmental about you and everything and everyone. I had a client once who had a really narcissistic mother, and she was like, oh yeah, my mother hates everyone. She hates everyone. And you're like, of course she does. But always being very physically, a lot of it is about the way it looks. They have disdain for people who are overweight. They also have this sense that it's only the best for them. Like they should only associate. They believe that they are the most talented. They are so grandiose at times in their description of things and in their bold-faced lying about accomplishments. And even if they're very accomplished, they still exaggerate their accomplishments. But they're very interested in keeping up with the Joneses and wanting to be with, people who are smart enough and accomplished enough to be with them. Oh God, it's just so utterly exhausting and depressing. And being the child of a mother like this is so incredibly painful. And the guilt isn't the regular guilt, right? If you say you're going to move out and they don't want you to move out, let's say, they'll be like, I can't go on without you. If you leave, I won't be here when you get back. Like, a lot of drama, and really any means necessary to get what it is that they want from you. So the first step for you to even build any kind of protection is that you have to be in acceptance of what you down deep know is true. Because how can you fix anything if you're in denial of what's real? And even though I know it is so painful, and if you're in this situation, I am just sending you out so much compassion right now, because I really understand from having so many clients how crazy making it is, how insidious their behavior is, and how painful it is, because the types of scars that a narcissistic mother, if they're not physically abusive, leave on a child are invisible, but they are massive, But you have to be in acceptance, because it's only from this place of acceptance that you can start to build a real plan to save yourself. And the reason why you need to save yourself is that there will never be enough sacrificing that you can do for them. There won't be enough feeding their ego. There won't be enough of you acquiescing to what they want you to do. It never ends. It's like you think your good deeds would go into a bank and that it would become this well of goodwill, but that's not true with a narcissist. So sacrificing your entire life and your happiness to try to please this person who will be pleased momentarily but not ultimately it's like just bashing your skull against a brick wall. Don't do it, because you don't have to, and because it will never be enough for them. They want their narcissistic supply from you, and if they're not sucking it out of you, they will be sucking it out of someone else. So let it be someone else. That's okay. So acceptance is the first thing. The second thing is knowledge. You must become knowledgeable about the mental illness, if you think this is so for you, that your mother or father, I'm talking about mothers right now, the father thing is pretty similar, a little bit different, but get knowledgeable. There's a million books out there. There's tons of experts who this is all they do. They have broken it down. So spend your time less on Netflix and more on actually becoming very learned about narcissistic mothers, so you can learn specifically about the type that your parent has, and you can also see how not alone you are in the world, that there are millions of other people who are having the same experience right now, whether you are trapped living at home with a parent because you are not you don't have enough money to move out, or you're not old enough to move out, or whether you are living with them even though you are of age because they want you to, or you live too close to them, or they somehow manipulated you to move across the country to where they lived because they wanted to be closer to you and now you're miserable. There are so many scenarios that people write into me about, but knowledge is power. And so your job is to get super knowledgeable in respect to narcissistic mothers. And there is a wealth of information out there. And then the next thing is boundaries. And this is the hard part, right? Because you have to take action. And this is the person that you fear maybe the most. And you're terrified of having their disapproval. You just want to fix it no matter what you need to do to fix it, because it can go on for a long time if they are torturing you, which we know this. But you've got to draw boundaries for yourself. So if that means limiting contact, stepping back, not picking up the phone, taking a break. If it's a really toxic situation, if there's abuse, cutting off contact altogether. Right? In the world of narcissistic daughters and mothers, the daughters, say go no contact. And a lot of people talk about that. If you have to deal with a narcissist, let's say you have kids with a narcissist, but you're divorced. You can't go no contact, right? So there also has to be a way you can draw boundaries if you feel compelled to keep contact. But I also want you to give yourself permission that if the situation is really toxic for you and there's abuse, you do not deserve that. You don't. And it is your job to protect yourself. And if that means going no contact, do it. You also want to think about if you have children. What is a narcissistic grandmother like? The same way she's torturing you, most likely she'll torture them, especially if something is wrong with them, if they're imperfect in some way, if they have a weight problem, if they have some kind of a learning disability or any other kind of disability. They could be very rejecting and very mean. Very mean. I had an interaction with someone once, and I was there with one of my friend's kids. It was at a beach, and her mother-in-law was a raging narcissist, and her daughter had a weight problem. And the mother-in-law comes right over to the 9-year-old and was like, "Oh, hey, Betty, I see you're still tubby." Like, actually said that. And wow, I was like, we need to get the hell away from this person right now. I was just shocked. But she was like, oh, she's like that. I was like, dude, why are you subjecting your kid to it, though? Like, limit contact. You don't have to. You really don't. So the boundary thing is really important. And even though it'll be challenging in the beginning, I promise you can do it. And you have a right to do it. In the extreme, we talk about the gray rock method. And that is basically making yourself incredibly uninteresting. So when you create boundaries, part of the boundary can be maybe you still need to interact with them, but don't tell them anything about yourself. Don't tell them anything that's important to you, because you know that shit is coming back later to haunt you in a really mean way. It's like there's no holds bar when it comes to a fight. They will just put it in that file cabinet and whip it out to throw it at you at a later date. So some of the boundaries can be, if you do step 1, which is being an acceptance of what is real, what is true, then those boundaries will be easier to make because it'll be coming from your grown-up self who has evidence that your mother is emotionally untrustworthy as a narcissist. And that is a fact. So, slowly but surely start to draw boundaries. But I do think the gray rock method, there is something to it, meaning becoming very bland and boring. Because they really hate bland and boring. They really like the shiny object. They really don't like bland and boring. So, what's going on with you? Nothing. Just don't give up anything, especially, but it's hard for kids because if you have something exciting going on, you want to tell them, then they get in there and then they ruin it, right? Then they find a way to basically say, I don't know why they picked you to do that. You're not like just something horrendous. And then you're like, oh, this amazing sacred thing that was mine is now contaminated by that. And then the last tip that I have for you in this episode is to focus on you. Put all of your energy into your own healing. Join a group, get into therapy, get educated, as I said, as one of the other tips, but focus on you because you deserve your own love and attention. And focusing on you also means building healthy relationships with other people. You can find other mother figures, women who are older, who are good, who are actually good moms to their kids, and find a mentor. Someone whose energy that you're attracted to, that you feel would be kind, compassionate, empathic, and build relationships. And I feel like a lot of us do that naturally. Whatever we didn't get from our parents, we will try to find elsewhere. But I say do it consciously. So part of the focusing on you is getting the help that you need, that you deserve. Because this is curable. Like, you can protect yourself and go on to thrive in your life and not hand this down. And another way of focusing on you is also looking for any remnants that might be in you from them. You don't need to become a narcissist. If you're watching this, you're probably not a narcissist. because narcissists never think they need to. They never need to do anything better. But you don't need to become one. And just because you were raised by one, it doesn't mean you are one. But you did learn a lot of dysfunctional ways of responding to things that it would be really good if you could bring them into your conscious mind, using manipulation to get what you want from people, being explosive emotionally, having difficulty in sort of monitoring your own emotions. I mean, you know how your parent was. And get really honest with yourself. If you see any of those crumbs in you or in your behavior, that's part of focusing on you, is figuring out how to stop that now so it doesn't grow, so it doesn't get any bigger than it already is. Wow, I'm hot, and that was a lot. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, and if you know anyone who has a narcissistic mother, please share this with them. Then you can help me basically fulfill my mission in life, which is to empower as many people as possible to have the best, most juicy, delicious lives that they can. And we're in Boundary Bootcamp season, so keep your eyes open for my Wednesday Wisdom live stream. Go live on my business page in Facebook, which is Terri Cole, LCSW, and in my all-female group, which is called Real Love Revolution on Facebook. So all you need to do is find it and ask to become a member, and we will let you in. I am talking about, so this week, now you're seeing this Wednesday, I'm going to dive even deeper into this topic in the Wednesday Wisdom. And then coming up in September, we've got your big, beautiful boundary challenge. And we have your big, beautiful masterclass. So that's all happening in the beginning of September. Don't worry, I'll continue to talk about it. But I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me today, because you guys know I super appreciate it. And I really hope that this episode inspires you to prioritize yourself. I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, take care of you.